Hey, how's it going, everybody? Hope you're having a nice Dead by Daylight. I know I sure am. Today I'm bringing you a killer tier list. I've never done a full killer tier list before. This is going to be my, I guess, my 2023 killer tier list. I'll probably review this at the end of the year after we get a couple of new releases and see how things have changed over the year. But this is a nice way to, I guess, start off killer tier list at the beginning of the year. If you like the video, remember to like it, subscribe, all that nonsense. Encourages me to make videos. Without waiting any longer, let's just jump right into it. The tiers are as follows: S, A, B, C, D, E, F. S is top tier, A is high tier, B is above average, C is average, D is below average, E is low tier, and F is bottom tier. I'm sure you can kind of figure out how these stack up. I'd like to say right from the start that regardless of what tier a killer is in, you should just play who you want. Tier lists don't really matter a whole lot in this game, to be honest, unless you're playing at like a competitive level, like you're playing for like a competitive team or some shit. Otherwise, it doesn't matter. Just play who's fun. Don't pick your killer based off of a arbitrary tier ranking, but I'm going to be giving my opinion on how I feel all the killers stack up in the game. Currently, I think that there's a decent balance between most of the killers. I do think that there's some that are quite a bit ahead of other killers still, but we'll get into that, and there's maybe one or two that are quite a bit below other killers. I'm going to factor add-ons into it a little bit, not too much though. Obviously, there's some add-ons that absolutely just break killers and make them ridiculous and overly strong. But I think it's important to factor add-ons a little bit, as most people are going to be running add-ons when they're playing a killer. Let's just start it off with Trapper, your boy. Unfortunately, Trapper is... I'm going to rank Trapper in the bottom tier. Now, that might be a bit of a harsh ranking for the poster child of DBD, but I have my reasonings for it. Trapper, currently, he's a setup-based killer, which in my opinion is already a downside. The setup-based killers just kind of have a... having to set up for your power is never a good thing. You're wasting time at the beginning of the match. That's precious time in the early game, in DBD for killer is very important. The faster you can kind of start a snowball, the better off you're going to be. So if you have to take the beginning of the match to, set up your power and get it to work, that can be really detrimental towards you. And there are perks that can help you out, like Corrupt Intervention, but these obviously aren't, foolproof ways of preventing your early game from being that safe. His power, of course, is the bear traps, and while he has received a number of buffs over the years, there's still a lot of just jank with the power. Most notably is the fact that he still has to go around and pick up all of his bear traps. By default, he can only hold on to 2 at a time. Unless you use certain add-ons, which allow you to hold 3, or the Trapper Sack, which allows you to hold all of your add-ons all at once. I do think that the Trapper Sack should honestly be like base kit. I don't think that would even break him that hard. The fact that you have to walk around and pick up all your traps is just crazy, especially since some traps can spawn in the corners of the map, just completely away from everything. It's just a huge waste of time to go put them down, to go pick them up and actually put them down, so that you're losing value on your power. Also, if survivors are smart, they're going to play safe. They're going to inspect loops around them, look for common trap points, and they're either just going to disarm your traps or try to play around them. There's no guarantee your traps will work. That being said, the Trapper can snowball kind of well. If his traps do end up working, or if he gets a really, really good hook, like a basement hook, he can really lock down an area. But if survivors play smart and they deprive you of the things that really get you going as a Trapper, that really kind of get your snowball on, then it can be really, really rough for Trapper. He's got good add-ons. I think he's just not all there. He takes too long to get started, and he's definitely needs a couple more buffs, I think, before he's able to really compete with some of the other killers, or compete with the middle to the higher tier killers. But anyways, let's move on. We got Wraith here. Wraith I'm going to list as above average. Wraith is good. He's got a lot going for him currently. He's no longer drastically add-on dependent on Windstorm add-ons ever since they gave him those buffs a while back. He's got movement speed. He's got stealth. He's got a little bit of anti-loop with his movement speed bonus coming out of his cloak. Can be used to hit people over short, pallet loops. His add-ons are all really, really good. I can't think of any add-ons that he has that are outright just poopy outside of maybe like the meme one, which just completely removes your stealth ability. But even that one can be used for some really, really funny builds. He is a basic M1 killer, so he synergizes with basically every single perk in the game, except maybe Terror Radius perks, such as like Distressing and all that nonsense. Really just an all-around, well-rounded killer. I can't really say a whole lot about Wraith, because he's just pretty solid. Next we got Hillbilly. I'm going to put Hillbilly at below average. I'm going to put him at below average for now. We'll see if I feel like I should bump him down. It's between below average and low tier. Hillbilly was hit with a number of really, really unfortunate nerfs about 3 years ago. In 2020, he got a add-on pass, which made all of his add-ons basically not good. And he also got the overheat mechanic added to his power, which just, while it's not like a huge issue, it is a limiting factor with your power, and there are times where you do have to control your chainsaw because you're otherwise going to overheat. And he's just kind of a shell of what he used to be. A lot of what old Hillbilly was very based around his add-ons. His add-ons were absolutely insane, and there was no denying that many of his add-ons were just over-tuned and broken. But current Hillbilly just doesn't really have a whole lot to work with. People know how to play around his power. You have to put a lot of time and effort to really get his power to work, especially at loops, and you could put that time and effort into a different killer, and you'd get more of a payoff for learning that other killer's power. He's very cool, though. I do love Hillbilly. Lots of people love playing against Hillbilly. He's super fun. It's just sad that he is just not as good as he could be. Like I said, a lot of his add-ons aren't very good, and using your power at loops can be extremely tough, especially since nowadays a lot of people know how to play around Hillbilly properly. That being said, he still has a high amount of mobility, which is always a benefit in DBD. He can get around the map extremely fast. And he does have an insta-down. If you do catch someone out in the open, you can just use your chainsaw and insta-down them. And those are certainly never bad things to have. It's just that there are killers that kind of do what he does, but better, both in the mobility category and the insta-down category. Next, we have the Nurse. This should come as a surprise to no one, but Nurse is still the best killer in the game, even after her recent nerf or change where they made her blink attacks special attacks. That doesn't matter. The main reason Nurse is the best killer in the game is because she just simply breaks the traditional mold of Dead by Daylight gameplay. Nurse doesn't play Dead by Daylight. She plays a completely different game. Your standard loops, tiles, windows aren't going to work against Nurse because she can just blink through all of it. You effectively have to play a completely different game, very line of sight based. And so long as Nurse is capable of just blinking through objects at a reasonable distance, I think she's always just going to be the best killer. She can cover distances very easily. She can snowball very easily due to the fact that she, again, can close gaps and get on top of people. She can get downs extremely fast if you're good at her. She does not synergize with perks as well as she used to, obviously, with the recent change. You can't really synergize with on-hit perks anymore, but she can still very, very effectively utilize aura reading perks and slowdown perks to her advantage. And her add-ons are still fairly solid. She's got some really, really good add-ons, especially some of the higher tier ones absolutely are ridiculous. The 3-blink one especially, I don't understand why they ever removed the downside of the 3-blink add-on being, it used to have the downside where you couldn't blink through walls if you didn't have line of sight. It was very janky. There were ways you could get around it, but now it's just longer blink recharge, and it's just 3-blink Nurse is absolutely insane, and I'm glad I don't encounter it more in my matches as Survivor because it is, quite frankly, very, very nuts. But otherwise, yep, she is the best killer in the game still. I don't think there's any changing that unless she gets absolutely gutted or she gets a complete rework. On the other hand, we got Michael Myers down here. Michael Myers, unfortunately, despite the fact that he is one of the kings of horror in the cinema, he's not one of the kings of DBD, that's for sure. He's got a very old, outdated kit that just isn't very good anymore. There are a lot of issues with Michael Myers, from, again, his extremely outdated kit and design that hasn't been updated in years, next to his completely, absolutely all over the place add-ons from some of the most broken add-ons in the entire game, like the tombstone piece, which just allows you to straight up murder someone, potentially just mere minutes into a match, and stuff like infinite tier 3 and other things, along with some very, very useless add-ons like the stalking aura add-ons. There's one for tier 1 that I've actually covered on this channel before in a video where I talked about shitty add-ons, and it's just absolutely awful. Yeah, Michael Myers is just a killer that just needs a fresh coat of paint. I mean, he was one of the first killers that was added into the game, surprisingly. And they really have not changed his design since then. Being able to down survivors, the exposed status effect he gets in tier 3, being able to down survivors from healthy just isn't nearly as impactful as an effect as it is these days. There are plenty of killers that can insta-down survivors. There are plenty of perks that allow killers to insta-down survivors. The increased lunge speed as well as vault speed is quite nice, but or not increased lunge speed, but increased lunge distance. Definitely some nice additions to being tier 3 and even tier 2. You have a slightly increased vault speed, but it's not nearly enough to really make him all that strong of a killer. Again, he's kind of a setup killer. He effectively isn't a killer at the start of the game. He's only tier 1. He has no lunge. He moves at 105% movement speed, which is incredibly slow. And you basically can't chase survivors. You do have the benefit of being undetectable, which is quite nice, but otherwise you're spending those first couple of minutes just being able to play the game, basically, by stalking survivors. And if survivors are good, they're going to make that extremely difficult for you. And he has to take time just to be a normal killer, which is tier 2, and then he has to take more time to actually even utilize his power. There's also some really weird choices with his power, like how stalking survivors from further away makes you fill your stalk slower, which seems like it's kind of backwards. It feels like if you're stalking someone from further away at like a tactical kind of position, Michael Myers style, you should actually get stalk faster. Kind of that looming in the background threat instead of just literally being on top of someone, and that gives you stalk faster than being farther away. There's a lot of weird decisions with his power that just simply need to be updated because he is so old and crusty and hasn't had a whole lot done to his kit in a very, very long time. Next, we have the Hag. The Hag I'm going to place in above average. I think the Hag... I think there's people out there that think the Hag is a lot better than she actually is. The Hag is very decent, don't get me wrong. She's a very solid killer, but there are a lot of ways you can play around the Hag, and I think more people are starting to figure out how to actually play around her, even though that it feels like no one's playing her still. I think people are starting to figure out her whole gimmick. As long as you just essentially bully her in the early game, don't let her get a good web set up, don't let her get a 3-gen, don't let her get basement hooks, just send one person in the early game, 1 or 2 people in the early game, to just go pop all of her traps and just harass her from setting up. She is going to have such a miserable experience, dude. Not only does she have kind of similar issues to Trapper, outside of the issue of having to go and get your traps because she can just place traps down whenever, she still has all the issues of being a setup killer, but on top of that, she's also a 110% movement speed killer, which means she's slower than the default movement speed, which means you're getting around the map slower, which means you're setting up your traps slower, which also means you can't reliably chase survivors. You have to pretty much rely on your traps to actually get hits. And if survivors are aware of this and know how to play around it, they can make it extremely, extremely difficult for you to ever get anything going. That being said, if she does get a setup going, if she gets a 3-4 gen, if she locks down a specific area like the basement, it is absolutely horrible to play against Hag. She can very easily win a game just off of area control alone. But that being said, it's very easy, in my opinion, or it is at least, you can reliably stop her from getting a kind of zone of control set up if you know what you're doing. As she, like I said, she can't take chases normally. She has to rely on her traps. So as long as you play around that, you will definitely be fine. But otherwise, she is a solid killer for sure. If you learn her, there are definitely ways you can play around these downsides and kind of think tactically about the match. She's also got some very solid add-ons. Mint Rag is absolutely ridiculous. Rusty Shackles, I think, is actually broken, and I don't understand why people don't talk about it more. And all of her other add-ons are also very solid. She's a little bit add-on dependent. Her default teleporting range is kind of poopy, which is unfortunate, but a lot of her, you can pretty much fix that with just a yellow add-on, and you'll be fine. So a lot of her add-ons are just very, very solid. A couple of fun ones too, like the Scarred Hand, which completely changed her playstyle. Maybe not for the better, since it is just worse than actual Hag, but it is very fun to play Scarred Hand, Body Blocker Hag. Next, we have the Doctor. I think the Doctor is honestly average. I do think he's slightly dependent on his discipline add-ons, which are essentially the add-ons that make your looping or anti-loop ability, the right-click, the static blast, or not static blast, the static shock. They make that better, basically. They make it so that when you actually shock a survivor, they are unable to perform an action. The cooldown from actually them getting shocked and them not being able to perform an action gets smaller basically with discipline add-ons, and I oftentimes feel like you have to actually run a discipline add-on for his static shock or shock therapy to actually be useful at doing that. But otherwise, he does have some other advantages at his disposal. He is extremely good at gathering information. If you know what you're doing, you can basically keep tabs on survivors very easily. He's got a bit of slowdown as well with the whole madness system. Survivors having to go and spend some time to snap out of it, which can buy you some time. But otherwise, he is a fairly standard M1 killer, for better or for worse. It doesn't have any mobility, just standard 115. Like I said, he does have the anti-loop with the static shock, but that can sometimes be a little unreliable. But if you do run a discipline add-on and really nail down the timing, you can definitely deny loops very easily. I think he's a perfectly average killer. I don't think there's anything too wrong with Doctor. He's got some fairly solid add-ons. Some of them read like a book. You really have to fucking read them because they give you like a billion effects, because there's like madness effects and passive effects and shit like that. But otherwise, he's honestly very easy to pick up and play. And I don't think there's too much wrong with him. I'd maybe add like a little bit of a discipline add-on, being base kit. But outside of that, I wouldn't do much else to him. Next, we have the Huntress. The Huntress is going to be A tier. She's going to be high tier. The only thing holding the Huntress back really is the fact that she's very map dependent. If you get a bad map, such as an indoor map, where her power can feel a lot less good, then that can be kind of shitty. But otherwise, assuming she's got some good maps, she's very good. She's one of the few killers in the game that effectively has global pressure. If she sees you, she can technically hit you. And, that's something that lots of Huntresses have done, and you've probably been on the receiving end of it. If you've ever played against Huntress, you've probably been hit with a absolutely insane long-range hatchet. There are very, very good Huntress players out there. There are a lot of Huntress players out there, especially on PC. It makes sense. She's a very aim-based killer. She's very good. That global pressure is quite nice. She's decent at dealing with loops because of the hatchets. She can snowball fairly well. She has a bit of a tough time maybe catching and finding survivors due to the fact that her 40-meter lullaby will kind of give survivors an early warning on when she's coming. But otherwise, she's a very solid, well-rounded killer. Add-ons are solid. Like I said, she is map dependent for sure. Some maps make her feel absolutely broken, such as some of the Autohaven maps with very, very low loops that she can just throw over very easily. And maps like RPD or Midwich or Leary's make her feel absolutely terrible to play. So she can be hit or miss when it comes to the map game, but I'd say it averages out to like her being kind of high tier, especially if you know what you're doing. Next, we have Leatherface, Bubba, if you will. Bubba, I think, is also actually high tier. He's a very solid killer. His insta-down being able to insta-down is quite nice. He can insta-down multiple survivors if he gets lucky. And the rework he got back in 2020 alongside Hillbilly, he was kind of the on the better receiving end of that because he used to be absolutely awful. But the rework did him quite a bit of justice. It made his power actually usable at loops. You don't have to actually stand right behind someone to use it. And with some of his add-ons, like the Chili and the Beast Marks or Knife Scratches, you can actually hit people from fairly far away with your chainsaw, which makes him a extremely lethal killer. He can pull pallets very, very easily if you are on a map with a kind of a heftier amount of pallets on the upper side. You know, if there's a map that you're on that has a good amount of pallets, like the game or something, you don't feel as bad about it when you're playing Bubba because you can just chew through pallets like it's nothing. And he can certainly camp a hook very well. At the very least, he is one of the kings of the camp, probably the original king of the camp. So he's got that going for him. And even outside of camping, like, I think he's a very solid killer. Very easy to play, good add-ons. Insta-down is great. Effectively counters certain survivor perks and strategies thanks to that insta-down. I think the only time you can feel kind of shitty is if there's a map with a lot of really good windows. That can feel kind of tough sometimes because windows inevitably are a good bit better against him than pallets, which he can get through very easily. But otherwise, definitely a high-tier killer. Next, we have Freddy. Freddy, I think, unfortunately, is low-tier. Freddy's got a lot of issues. And I think it's a number of things. For starters, his power is just very mediocre and kind of not great. He does have mobility in the sense that he can teleport around the map to the generators, which is always a good thing to have. As we've been over before, being able to get around the map quickly is certainly not bad. But a lot of his other aspects of his power just aren't good. The blood snares are okay. They can certainly help you deal with loops, but survivors have to actually be asleep for them to even interact with them, which means you have to hit them first at least, or you have to wait for them to go to sleep. Additionally, the clocks now give survivors an extra 30-second buffer time before they can go back to sleep, which means that you're getting less power value over time. And he is not the greatest when it comes with, just pre-dropping pallets. Survivors understand that against Freddy, all you really got to do is pre-drop a pallet, and you'll be probably fine. Obviously, certain maps he's a little bit better on. If there's maps with a lot of just kind of junk pallet loops, he'll be a little better at that. But otherwise, he's not the best. He's mostly just an M1 killer with a somewhat anti-loop ability. Being slowed down when you put down your snares as well can be quite a bit of a deficit, as you can no longer just auto chase people and put down a snare and you do it for completely for free. I do think he needs some buffs in some way. I honestly think he should get kind of a mini rework, and a lot of his power should be changed. I think the blood snares are not really all that cool, or I don't know, they don't really reflect Freddy all that much for me. I like the teleporting, I like the nightmare, but I think they could definitely come up with something a lot cooler for his kind of main power. There's also the pallets, the fake pallets, which are just, as fun as they are, they're objectively worse than blood snares, which already blood snares are kind of at best. He also had a lot of his add-ons nerfed and changed to be made a lot worse. He used to have a lot of really, really obnoxious slowdown add-ons, but now he's kind of just, living with a lot of weird add-ons that are based around skill checks and hearing survivors more. They're not all that terrible, but they're certainly not nearly as good as they used to be, or even that great. I also don't think the meta is really favored to him right now. The whole gen kicking, it sounds really weird. Hear me out here, okay? If you've ever played against old Freddy, Ruin Pop meta Freddy, this is going to sound weird. I honestly don't think Freddy is actually that good with the Eruption Call of Brine meta. It's just a lot of time commitment for him. He was more the killer that likes to get a down hook, teleport far away, apply a pop to a gen, and keep rolling with that. He used to be really good at that because it was good time efficiency and he made use of it. But I just don't think he's that good at just walking around kicking generators all the time. He's got to get it down eventually, and he kind of struggles at that. especially nowadays. But definitely needs something. Freddy needs some kind of love. Not sure what it is, but like I said, I think a mini rework would be really nice. Next, we have the pig. Where do I want to rank the pig? I think I'm also going to rank the pig down here with Freddy. I do think she's a little bit better than Freddy, but I also don't think she's the greatest. I think the pig's biggest issues is, you know what? I want to put her in below average. I know that this is like, there's like not much distance between these two, but I am going to put her in below average. I think the pig has a few things going for her, but she also has a lot of things working against her. For starters, she has very, very consistent slowdown with the bear trap. She's probably got the, next to like Pinhead, she's probably the best killer for slowing down the game just naturally with her power. But outside of that, a lot of her other aspects of her kit are very hit or miss. The stealth is fairly inconsistent. She moves around the map very slowly in her stealth mode, so she's not really doing it. She's not doing it consistently unless she knows where a survivor is. And her ambush ability is extremely inconsistent. It's very easy to just counter the ambush by simply walking away, which is very sad. But it is a difficult ability to balance, obviously. If they made it a lot better, then having a pig go into ambush would just basically, you know, might... If they made it too good, it could just be a guaranteed hit at basically every pallet, which would not be fun to play against. There's got to be a happy medium, though, somewhere in there. I do think she should be able to transition in and out of stealth a lot faster. I don't think she should move as fast. I think her movement speed and stealth is fine, but I do think she should be able to transition in and out of stealth a lot easier still. I think she kind of transitions between the two states very slowly. I think the reverse bear traps are actually fine. They've done a lot of improvements to them to make them at least more consistent at slowing the game down. And every now and then you do get a head pop, which can win you a game and is very nice. She's one of the few killers, in fact, one of the only killers maybe, that can take at least a bit of solace in larger maps. While on one hand she does have no mobility, which means larger maps kind of are tough for her. Her power is actually made a bit better on larger maps, and survivors have to travel a longer distance to get between the jigsaw boxes, which ends up being a boon for her. But otherwise, she's just a bit slow, an M1 killer. A lot of the aspects of her power are not the most consistent. Her add-ons are just okay. Even after the add-on pass, they have been made a little better, but they are kind of just still somewhat okay and not really all that over the top. I do think she could get a couple of buffs here and there, like I said, but otherwise she is kind of a jack-of-all-trades, master-of-none killer, but this is definitely a game where you want to be specifically good at something as the killer. Next we have Clown, Mr. Clown. Where do I rank Clown? I'm going to take a sip of water real quick, because my throat is drying up, but that's okay. Where do I want to put the Clown? He's certainly not the greatest. He's definitely not the best killer in the world. But where would I put the Clown? I'm gonna put him in below average right here. The Clown has a couple of things going for him. His bottles are very consistent for anti-loop. At pallet loops, that is. At jungle gyms and whatnot, he definitely struggles a lot more. But a lot of survivors know that if you pre-drop a pallet against Clown, especially a good one, then there's not a whole lot he can do about it. And pressing W against a Clown does kind of work sometimes. He does have the movement speed bottles, but they really aren't all that impactful. He probably got like the lamest rework of like any killer ever. When they said they were giving him a rework, they gave him the movement speed bottles, and that was it. They can come into play for sure. I think there's definitely some benefit to be had with the movement speed bottles, but I mean, nothing really changed about Clown's playstyle when they reworked him. You still just throw a bottle down on one side of the loop, hold W, try to get them into the bottle. If you want, you can throw a yellow bottle on the other side of the loop to give yourself the movement speed. going into them. Yeah, not a terribly interesting killer. I think his biggest issues is that he just doesn't really have the map pressure. He can get downs for sure. He can throw bottles at people. He can slow them down, and he can get downs at certain loops, especially pallet loops, very easily. But you just don't got the map pressure, man. He can't get around the map very fast. He can't really get downs all that fast, to be honest, unless he's running certain perks or add-ons. There are some add-ons that make him a lot better. But yeah, I think there's like something to be said about the clown and the fact that they could make his power a lot more interesting, even with just the assets they have currently with the pink and yellow bottles. They could make him way more interesting than he is. But for right now, he's somewhat of a kind of boring anti-loop killer that doesn't really have a whole lot going for him. A few things for sure, but not the greatest out there. Next, we have the Spirit. The Spirit is definitely a top tier killer in my opinion. The Spirit is very, very good. She's got a lot going for her. She can get around the map very fast with her power. She can effectively be wherever she wants to be with her power. She can get hits very easily on survivors at loops. She does not break the game as much as, say, the Nurse does. She can't just teleport through pallets. She still has to deal with a God pallet if a God pallet exists, but there are very many ways that you can get hits as the Spirit on survivors, even at good loops, as long as you're using your ears properly. She's got really, really good add-ons. Holy God. She's got some of the craziest add-ons in the entire game, and these are the nerfed versions of some of those crazy add-ons. Mother-Daughter Ring got a nerf, and it's still absolutely broken in my opinion. You've got stuff like the Dried Cherry Blossom, I think it's called, which is effectively no-brain Spirit, where you just hold W until you get Killer Instinct and then just let go of your power, and you're going to be right on top of them. Yeah, she's got even her lower tier add-ons. The duration add-ons are still broken, and they give you recharge, so you're effectively getting 2 in 1 for an add-on. The movement speed add-ons are very good. Even the recharge add-ons themselves, even though they're essentially superseded by the duration add-ons, are okay at least. Granted, the duration add-ons are actually better recharge add-ons than the recharge add-ons, but that is a completely different discussion. Regardless, Spirit is very, very good. She pretty much synergizes with any perk in the game as well. Great perk synergy, since she's mostly just an M1 killer. Yeah, great stuff. 24-meter terror radius. Spirit's very good. I enjoy playing her. I think she's fun. She's nearly not as stupid as she used to be with some of the older jank with her power, like being able to just teleport through windows and shit, like with her vault animation being really dumb, and the fact that she could just fake her power for free. She got a lot of really dumb aspects before she kind of got like a little mini tune-up basically that removed some of these frustrations, but she's still very good, still able to get those hits very easily. We have the Legion next. Legion, my own personal main. Maybe a little bit of bias is going to come in here, but I do actually think the Legion is much better than people give them credit for. Especially now. I'm debating between either above average or average. You know what? I'll exercise a little bit of bias. I'm going to put them at above average. You can shoot me if you want and tell me how I'm wrong, but here, let me explain. Legion's got a lot going for them, honestly. For starters, they can injure survivors very, very quickly. Legion does not care if you heal. If you heal, you're wasting time, because the Legion will injure you in effectively what is like a tenth of the speed it took you to actually finish that heal. They've got game slowdown with the mending. You can always hit people to slow the game down in your favor, as they'll have to take time to mend. There's information. They get a ton of information from their power. You pretty much can always find a survivor, no matter where they are. If you need to look for a specific survivor, you can very easily do that with your power. You just have to find another survivor, hit them, and then go look for the other survivor. And now they can down people in their power. If survivors really, really fuck up and group up a little too much, you can just get a free down, and there's not much the person can do about it. There's a lot of really, really unique ways you can use your power, too. They synergize with a ton of perks in the game. For example, Enduring is a perk that is amazing on them for kind of odd reasons, not just the fact that you can cancel out of your power very quickly if someone stuns you with a pallet, but you can use your power to very easily get on the same side of the pallet as them, which causes you to hit them to stun you, you to show up on their side of the pallet, and then you can just hit them again for free and get a very easy down. They're a very exciting killer to play. I think they're very fun to play. I know people have gripes about playing against them, but I think they can get pressure very easily through injuring survivors. I think the main thing that holds them back from being, much higher up on this list is they are, at the end of the day, after their power, just an M1 killer. Granted, they don't have to do the whole 2-hit chase. They just have to usually hit a survivor once, which means one mistake usually will get them a down, which is why I opt for running, a couple of chase perks on them to really help them out in that regard. And group or splitting up is something that is already very good on Survivor, and they kind of get doubly screwed by splitting up, as it effectively makes their power a lot worse. There are some add-ons that you can use to help you out with this, like the Never Sleep Pills and Mural Sketch, but otherwise, on large maps and splitting up, it certainly can feel very bad to play Legion in a situation like that. But otherwise, I think they are much, much better post the rework that they got, and are a lot better than maybe some people like to give them credit for. Next, we have the Plague. The Plague is a high-tier killer, in my opinion. I think the Plague is extremely good, especially in the current meta. I think healing is extremely good in the current Survivor meta. You have a lot of abilities to heal yourself quickly as a survivor. You have things like Circle of Healing, Will Make It, Botany Knowledge, Desperate Measures. There are plenty of ways to get, easy, fast health states of survivor these days. Plague just counters that completely. She completely counters a subset of perks right off the bat with her power. Her power keeps people injured permanently. Not only that, she has quite possibly one of the best snowball powers in the entire game with her Corrupt Purge. It is a ranged attack that can hit multiple survivors very, very easily, and she can use it to snowball very, very quickly. Yeah, she's a very solid killer if you know how to play her. She does require a bit of setup in the early game, but not necessarily the same kind of setup that maybe the Hag or the Trapper would engage in, where they need to kind of be left alone in the early game. They could still go out to pressure survivors, but you do need to actually go and infect survivors to kind of get the ball rolling on her. So her early game can feel a bit slow, but her mid to late game is extremely powerful and can end up being very, very oppressive, especially if the survivors don't exactly know how to play it correctly. So all in all, a very good killer, if only for the fact that she counters an entire subset of perks. But obviously not just that. She also has a very strong ability to snowball the game in her favor, which is very, very good in a game where often one mistake can lead to a lost match. Next, we got Ghostface. Ghostface. What do I want to say about Ghostface? I think he's okay. I think Ghostface is average. Maybe I'm gonna say he's average. I think Ghostface is average. He's got a couple of things going for him, but he also has a couple of problems. First thing he's got going for him is he effectively has on-demand undetectable. Especially now, his power doesn't nearly take as long to recharge, which is very good and was a huge boon for him when he got that buff a little bit ago. This undetectable isn't just useful for sneaking up on people either, too. This can be useful in chase, as it effectively hides your red stain for you, so you don't have to moonwalk or any of that nonsense. And he can insta-down survivors so long as he stalks them. That being said, though, he's a bit of a kind of slower, more methodical killer. You have to go around, you have to stalk people, you have to actually get them 99'd, and you have to, make sure they're 99. You don't want to blow the stalk too early, because then they might be able to reach some resources and prevent you from getting that insta-down. If you have a survivor that is, maybe 99'd, but you have them injured, then you don't want to hit them. You actually want to let them heal up, because if you down them, it resets all that progress or whatever. Or at the very least, if you don't have easy access to downing them. There's just a couple of weird things with his power, but otherwise he's not terrible. He's certainly very solid. Like I said, being able to insta down survivors is still good. Being able to get around the map stealthily is still good. He just doesn't really have any movement speed at his disposal, and he has a bit of trouble snowballing, in my opinion. When you have to kind of manually stalk survivors in your power, it does make getting that snowball quite difficult, as you can't really down multiple survivors in a row instantly as him. You can pretty much do like one at a time. You can fully stalk multiple survivors, but once you down a survivor, you are pushed out of your power, so you can't like down a survivor and then stalk another survivor and down them. You can do that with an add-on, I think. I think there's an add-on that actually recharges your gauge fully, but looking more at just default Ghostface, you're not able to just like chain downs very quickly. So he does have to kind of slowly get around the map and build pressure very slowly, but he can certainly do it. And there's some kind of funny mind games you can do with his crouching at certain loops. But otherwise, he's a perfectly average killer. Very kind of classic, stealthy M1 killer. Next, you have the Demogorgon. What do I want to say about Demogorgon? I think Demogorgon's above average. I think he's got a couple of things going for him, which is quite nice. First of all, he's got the portals. Again, map mobility, always good. He's got the ability to set up portals wherever he wants to get around the map quickly. This is more impactful, I think, in the later game when when there's less gens for you to defend, when there's maybe only 2 or 1 gen left that you have to defend. This can be very, very powerful. But outside of that, he has the Shred as well, which is an anti-loop tool. Additionally, he's very good at faking his power. He's one of the few killers left, I think, that gets away with just being able to fake his power in zone for free. And not enough people complain about this. I don't know why people don't complain about this. This man can just literally free zone you, basically. And back in the day when people would like complain about like Deathslinger and all that shit for being able to like free zone people, no one complained about Demogorgon for some reason, even though he was always very good at just doing that. And he still can. But not only just that, the Shred is obviously good for just landing long-range hits and getting around pallet loops and shack loop and, you know, jungle gyms and all that stuff. It's also good for saving certain things, like save the best for last stacks. If you can hit an obsession with your Shred very easily, and you'll save stacks. So he's very good synergy with certain perks, which is quite nice. All around, just a good, well-kitted killer. Map mobility, chase mobility, or chase ability. Not a whole lot to say. Not a whole lot of bad things to say about the Demogorgon. Maybe his only downside is the fact he does have to set up his map mobility power with the whole teleporting. So maybe he's got a bit of a problem with actually getting that map mobility to go. And if the survivors know something you can do against a Demogorgon is if he puts a portal in a really shitty spot, don't break it. Don't break it. He can't actually do anything to get rid of his portals unless he's running a certain add-on. So if he gets stuck with a bad portal, that can kind of suck. So survivors, if they know that you put a portal in a bad spot, that can kind of screw you over. His add-ons are okay too. He's only got kind of just average add-ons. He's got some good ones, but mostly his add-ons are not anything to sneeze at. Next we have the Oni. The Oni, I think the Oni belongs in high tier. The thing about him though is you have to get the first hit. Oni's extremely good at snowballing. Probably one of the best snowball killers in the entire game. His ability to snowball a game in his favor is impeccable. The thing is, you have to literally hit someone first. And until you hit someone, you are useless. You are a literal M1 killer with no power. And people know this, and they're just going to dump pallets on you in the early game. They're just going to throw every pallet known to man in the early game. So if you can't get that first hit, it's going to suck playing this guy. But if you can get that first hit, you can effectively win a game super, super quickly. Like in comp play, dude, people just drop pallets against this man. Because they know as soon as they take the first hit, it's over, dude. The game's over. Like, you're throwing if you take the first hit super early against a fucking Oni. So really, he is just a snowball killer. Like, he is almost exclusively specifically a snowball killer. But like I said, getting that first hit is what ends up killing him a lot of time, and it's why he's not higher on this list, is because sometimes you get a rough match with survivors who've got sprint bursts, they got lights, they're pre-dropping pallets, there's a lot of good pallets on the map, and you just can't do anything. And there's almost nothing you can do about it, unless you're maybe running some specific perks, and you really game on someone. It's going to be a bad time for you, and that's okay. It's just part of the killer. It's just how it works. Add-ons, he's got some good add-ons too as well. Scalp Top Knot is still pretty good. Lion's Fang is pretty good. Akito's Crutch is pretty good. His Eries are kind of a meme. Actually, he's got hit or miss add-ons. I'm gonna take that back. He's got kind of hit or miss. He's got a couple of really, really good add-ons, and he's got a kind of some stinkers. So keep that in mind. He's got kind of like a mixed bag of really good add-ons and kind of stinky add-ons. Next, we got Deathslinger. Deathslinger is, in my opinion, above average. I would put him here. Deathslinger is, what can I say about Deathslinger? He's very good around loops. He feels like he's a close range huntress, basically. He's extremely solid at loops, basically just as solid at the same loops that Huntress is solid at. He's going to be able to get those hits just as easily. A couple of things though that are kind of downsides here. First of all, he's 110, which is, that's just par for the course. Kind of how it works with the range killers. Typically they usually fall into the 110 category, outside of like maybe 2 exceptions, or 1 exception really, I think. And 2, he's got a 32-meter terror radius, which means that you're getting heard from further away as Deathslinger, and you're not able to cover that distance as fast as a 115 killer. So people are going to just run away from you very early. And if they know that, they can get a lot of distance on you before you actually even get to see them. Granted, like I said, his power is very good. If you're good at aiming, you can get some pretty nasty hits on him, which is always a good time. He synergizes extremely well with M1 perks because his power is based around his basic attack. Save the Best for Last is very good. Sloppy Butch is very good on him. He's got a lot of great perk synergies. Synergizes amazingly with exposed perks like Starstruck and Make Your Choice, stuff like that. Really his biggest issue, he's got plenty of ability to down survivors and chase. Big issue, map pressure. Like I said, 110 killer. He gets around the map kind of slow. He can kind of have a hard time snowballing because he has to go through the whole process of reloading and aiming and shooting and reloading and, to actually get the down. So it can take him a lot of time to actually kind of build up pressure to get a snowball rolling and actually get like a really proper win condition. But otherwise, he's a good enough killer. Next, we got Pyramid Head. Pyramid Head, I think I'm just going to put him as average. Pyramid Head, he is a really janky killer to play. Man, I wish Pyramid Head, see, a lot of Pyramid Head's problems are just don't fit into like the jank category. Like, he's just not very smooth to play. There's a lot of weird aspects with his ranged attack that make him kind of feel clunky to play and make it a lot harder to use than it actually should be. He's got the ranged attack, which is very nice. And like I said just now, he's kind of the exception to the whole 110 ranged rule, where he's a ranged killer and he's got some decent range on him, but he is actually 115. He's also got the cage system, which is pretty cool. It can get you, it can give you the ability to tunnel someone out of the game, like for free, basically, if you really want to play that way, or you could save it for a quick down later in the game, in this sense that, you wait till you torment someone, wait till they get to death hook, and you can just easily kill them right on the spot. I think the cage system is kind of just like, I personally, as a survivor, don't really care if I get tormented. It's not really a threat to me. If they cage me, it's whatever. If they don't, they don't. Really, the ranged power is what you're playing Pyramid Head for, and the ranged power is okay. You pretty much have to wait for someone to commit to an action to really get a hit on them. You can get some really cool, like, hit him through walls with, like, aura reading perks and shit like that, but at the end of the day, I think he has to jump through a couple of hoops to actually get his power to really feel good, basically. He has to run certain perks and utilize his power in certain ways. Also, his add-ons are dog shit, dude. His add-ons are fucking terrible, bro. Holy moly, his add-ons are bad. He's got, like, maybe 1 or 2 good add-ons. Like, ranged add-ons and, like... Or, like, his range add-ons and, like, maybe his torment duration add-ons. And outside of that, dude, it is... Ooh, he's got bad add-ons. In general, I think they could smooth his power out so much. If they just made his power easier to use and made it smooth and like made the aiming of it smooth and made the transition from, you know, because it used to be like this, you know, the transition from sword in the ground to sword out of the ground used to be extremely smooth, and now it just isn't, and he just feels very janky to play. Feels very unpolished, which is sad because he's a very cool killer. But honestly, I think if they just smoothed out his gameplay, he'd be a lot better. Next, we have Blight. Blight is a top-tier killer, absolutely. Great map mobility. Probably the king of map mobility these days, next to Hillbilly. Except he can actually use his power in chase extremely well. Good Hillbillies, or not good Blights are going to just hit you at every tile they want, basically. I'm not a Blight main, so I don't know the extent of how many tiles you can actually land hits at with Blight, but I guarantee it's a lot of them. Blight is exceptionally good at getting hits, and I think the thing that actually makes him slightly better than Spirit, if you haven't guessed, I'm actually ordering these in like proper order from like, you know, worst to best and all that. What makes him like a little better than Spirit is the fact that he has consistent access to his map mobility. Spirit kind of has a long cooldown on her power, and her power is also her chasing power. Blight is still just a 115 killer, 32 meter terror radius that can sprint around the map as much as he wants, and there really isn't that much of a cooldown to his power. So he's insanely good. Great add-ons too, absolutely insane add-ons. Alkring is just literally busted, and I don't know why it hasn't been changed in some way yet. Turning rate, or the turning add-ons are good. You have like Blighted Crow and Blighted Rat are also very good. The speed add-ons. All around, just an amazing killer. A lot of map pressure, a lot of map mobility, a lot of chase pressure. Next, you have the Twins. Oh my god. How do I even rank the Twins, man? The Twins. Oh my god. I'm getting a headache even thinking about it, dude. I'm going to go with like the safest, I think, ranking I can give the Twins, which is like above average. The thing about the Twins is they are decent, maybe even very good, if you commit to an extremely boring and just very, very, very like toxic play style. If you commit to camping and slugging and tunneling, all of the just nastiest shit on Killer, man, Twins is very good at all that, dude. The fact that you can camp like a god on Victor, the fact that you can just absolutely go crazy. If you get a lot of people injured, you can go crazy and just slug everyone. Twins they're very good at playing extremely nasty. The problem is they're just so jank, dude. They're so jank. Victor feels like shit to use. It doesn't really feel like two killers in one, like the idea they wanted to go with. It feels like just a killer with a power. If you don't have Victor, you are literally just an M1 killer as Charlotte. There's no incentive to ever chase people as Charlotte. You basically just want to, you know, use the Goblin as much as possible. You want to really just get everyone injured and then use him to down everyone. You just want to camp and tunnel and camp and tunnel. Like, you want to engage in just the absolute most sweaty killer strategies on this killer. Otherwise, they just don't have the map pressure, man. They just don't. To actually go around, because I play Twins on a rare occasion sometimes, because I think like trying to find a fun way to play Twins is like this morbid curiosity of mine, and it's just, dude, playing them normally where you like go around and just like hit people and maybe try to use Victor to slow down the game, like lock someone up, It doesn't work, man. It literally doesn't work. The time investment is just not there. You do not have it. You don't have the time as killer to just like be going around and like injuring everyone and then like going and like down on them, or like having someone lock Victor, or have Victor lock someone up for a little bit by hanging on them. If they hold them hostage too, then that could be bad for you. There's so many things with this killer that are just wrong, man. And there's also so many bugs and glitches on them. Just really a mess of a killer. But I guess in an optimal scenario, if you're playing them well, they are an above average killer, in my opinion. Their add-ons too are also kind of all over the place from what I understand. A couple of good ones, but a lot of add-ons you wouldn't really write home about. Next we have the Trickster. The Trickster. He is an above average killer, I think. I think one of the big issues, and again, here we go. One of the big problems with a lot of the killers that are just in this area, right? You see this area right here, like C and B tier? A lot of these killers, here's their big problem. You know what their big problem is? Map pressure is a lot of their big problems, and actually snowballing. Trickster's got a huge problem with that. He's great at downing people. In chase, effectively, you will go down the Trickster eventually. As long as he's able to get like a couple of knives here and there at a loop. You know, you're at a jungle gym and he gets you like 2 or 3 knives as you're going through the window. As long as he's pot-shotting you a little bit, you're just going to go down eventually. That's how his power works. Problem is, it takes him fucking forever, dude. He's 110. He's got the lullaby, 40-meter lullaby, same deal. I think 24-meter terror radius. And he's just slow, man. He's slowed down people sometimes, and you just don't got the time for that, man. You don't got the time to be downing people all slow, like getting a couple of knives on them here and there. You got to generate pressure as him some way, and usually that way, unfortunately, is by being a bit of a proxy camper, because he is the second undisputed king of camping next to Bubba. Do not try to unhook in a Trickster's face. I've been playing Trickster recently. I've been messing around with him. I've been finding him weirdly fun recently for some reason. I love his aiming style of just like tracking. It's super fun. But please stop trying to unhook in Trickster's face, dude. It's not going to work out for you. I guarantee you are going to lose health states so fast. Certain loops, this guy just absolutely shits on survivors on low hanging loops. Basically anything that Huntress would be really, really good at, Trickster's also really good at. You're just absolutely nothing you can do. Probably even actually better than Huntress at some of these loops, because of the fact that at least with Huntress, you can, you know, if you juke or power, you actually do buy some like real time. Dude, Trickster, you can just hold the M1 button at people and they'll go down eventually at certain loops. Some loops though, he's absolutely terrible on, and this is where Huntress would be a little bit better. If Huntress even gets like a second where she can hit you with a hatchet, you lose a health state. The Trickster though has to kind of, you know, get all these little pot shots with his knives to build up for a health state. He's also got main event. Main event is just kind of like whatever. It's not really all that impactful a lot of the time. Every now and then you'll use it to save knives, or if you get really lucky and survivors are like grouping up and doing something like weird, you can get like a ton of health states with it, but very few and far between. His add-ons are pretty cool. He's got some really nice ones like the ricochet, the splash damage, pass-through knives are all very unique. He's got some cool iridescent add-ons, the exposed one, the one that lets you recharge your knives after using main event. Some of his other add-ons are also very good. Total amount of knives you can carry, and movement speed while actually throwing knives is also very good. All in all, he's a perfectly fine killer. Maybe a little boring to play against sometimes. I've been kind of having fun playing against him, though, as Survivor recently. But, like I said, struggles with the whole map pressure, man. Struggles with map pressure, getting a snowball rolling, and then kind of getting everything to be all good in the hood, and actually getting a win condition. Next, you have Nemesis. Nemesis. I think he's also going to kind of be an above average killer. You're getting a theme here. There's a lot of above average killers, in my opinion. Maybe this is no longer like the average tier. maybe I'm kind of fucking up these tiers here. It's because you'd think most of the killers would be an average, but I'm like kind of throwing all of them in like above average. But no, I think Nemesis just kind of fits in this area real quick. Where do I put Nemesis, actually? I think Nemesis is solid. But again, I think he struggles with the same thing that a lot of killers these days. This is a consistent pattern, by the way, for a lot of killers that have been released recently. A lot of them struggle with map pressure and snowballing. And Nemesis is the same, dude. His power is good at chase. He can effectively, use it to get hits at pallets very easily and bait pallets, and, he can destroy pallets very easily. But he actually has to infect people first, and infecting people gives him a speed boost. And you're effectively going on 3-hit chases sometimes with your power. And kind of, infecting and running isn't always the best idea, because you do need to get it down eventually to actually, get some pressure rolling, and people can just go and vaccinate if it really comes down to it. If they know that you're just kind of infecting and leaving so you can come back later to use your power, they're just going to go and vaccinate. So he struggles a lot with map pressure. His zombies are okay. They've gotten better from what I understand, and I've experienced this myself in my games. They've certainly gotten better. But they're very, very hit or miss, very RNG oriented. Sometimes they're very good. Sometimes they just don't do anything for you. I'm actually going to put him as average, I think. Maybe this is a bit cruel to Nemesis, but I do think Nemesis struggles with a lot of things. A lot of his add-ons, too, are not very good, are just kind of all over the place. If he progressed through the tiers quicker, or if he was able to get to tier 2 a lot faster, and maybe it took him a little bit longer to get to tier 3, or if tier 3 had more impact, I'd want to put him like higher up. But tier 3 is like, it's just whatever, slightly extra range, who cares? Tier 2 is important because you can actually break pallets and shit. And I think it's what allows you to also actually like hit people over walls easier as with his power. But otherwise, he's just okay. Like I said, struggles a lot with snowballing, map pressure, and there's some other kind of jank aspects to his power. Pinhead's next. I think Pinhead's high tier. I think the big reason why Pinhead's high tier is his power legitimately has inbuilt. He is like the pig in the sense that he brings a secondary objective to the table. But kind of unlike the pig, a lot of his other aspects of his power are extremely good. For starters, let's go over everything. He's got the Lament configuration, which the survivors have to solve eventually. They can't not solve it. If they do, then they're screwed on doing anything. Because if they don't solve it, the chain hunt starts, and the chain hunt basically prevents you from doing objectives anytime fast, and makes looping him actually quite a bit harder. He's also got the actual possessed chain that he can send out himself, which is good for loops. It's pretty effective at dealing with pallet loops, kind of similarly to how like the clown would deal with a pallet loop. It's honestly similar in a lot of ways. He also has the ability to teleport to his box if someone is solving it. So he's got a bit of map mobility too. If someone's solving it and they're injured, or, there's someone you're particularly looking for, you can just teleport and congratulations, you're right there for them. And he's also got information in the sense that if he actually picks up the box himself, everyone screams and you get a little location reveal. So there you go. He's got a lot of stuff going for him in his kit. And he is M1 based, which means that he also synergizes with a lot of perks in the game currently. So really, Pinhead's got a lot to work with here. Good map pressure, good snowball, decent anti-loop. I think he's a well-rounded, very solid killer. Next, you got the Artist. The Artist is going to be in high tier above all that shit. Artist is very, very good. Artist, good for a lot of reasons. She just shuts down loops way, way, way too easily. Or she shuts them down easily enough. You can effectively get free health states with her power around certain loops. You can use it for information as well, from basically infinite range. You can send the birds out, get information on people. Not a whole lot to say about the Artist, honestly. She's just very, very solid. She's very good at what she does, and what she does is you know, shutting down loops and getting health states at loops, at really any loop in the game, and getting information on survivors. So there you go. She's good at those things, and you know, that's sometimes all you need. And those are two things that are very, very important in the game right now. I guess maybe one thing to say about the artist, like I said, she maybe struggles a little tiny bit to snowball, just a tiny, tiny bit. But really, I don't think all that much. If you kind of play around a hook as her, you can get some stuff really, really rolling with her power. But otherwise, not much else to say about the artist. Good add-ons as well. She's got some very solid add-ons, and she synergizes with a lot of perks, particularly slow down and stall perks, very, very nicely. Next, we have the Onryo, or Sadako. Unfortunately, I'm going to rank her as below average. Sadako is at best. She's got quite a few problems, as much as I enjoy playing as her. A couple of things she has going for her. She's got stealth, which is nice. I like stealth. Stealth is good. She has map mobility with an asterisk on it. She can teleport to the TVs, which allows her to get around the map effectively. But teleporting to a TV puts it on a 100-second cooldown, which is absolutely insane to me. Yeah, so she's got map mobility with her teleport, but it's very restrictive. You oftentimes have to wait a while to be able to teleport to a TV that you actually want to go to. I really hope they change this at some point, because it's very obnoxious. She has the condemn Mori mechanic, but oftentimes people don't care about it unless you're utilizing certain add-ons, which make her way, way stronger. People just often don't care about the, you know, getting the tapes and, you know, the whole condemn system and all of that. They just don't care enough about it. She's also got a tiny, tiny fraction of anti-loop or mind game potential with her power, being the fact that she kind of phases in and out. You can play like some cool mind games on people at short pallet loops. But she definitely struggles mostly in the department that she's simply just an M1 killer, and, you know, if people are going to pre-throw pallets at you, there's not a whole lot you can do. Her map mobility is kind of just, like I said, very inconsistent. But at the very least, she's a stealth M1 killer, so she can get hits very easily, and she oftentimes has to end up going for kind of a hit-and-run play style if you want to build up pressure on her. Unless you actually Mori someone, in which case the game can completely go in your favor, especially if you're running certain add-ons. But in general, I think she's kind of a... there are aspects of her base kit that definitely need improvement and looking at. The Dredge is solid. I think the Dredge is average. I want to throw him at the top of average here. The Dredge has some really nice things going for him, mostly in the mobility section. He can get around the map very, very easily. The problem is it can be kind of map dependent. Some maps absolutely suck for the Dredge because there's no lockers anywhere, and teleporting just feels terrible. Like there's huge dead zones of no lockers, and you just can't do anything about it. He's also got his Remnant, which is a very solid looping ability. It's good on pallet loops, maybe not as much on larger loops like jungle gyms or shack or any larger structures like that. But on shorter kind of pallet loops, junk loops, it is a very effective way to get hits and force hits from people. He's also got Nightfall, which can be a very nice mechanic. It allows you to get around the map even faster. It actually makes your looping ability quite a bit better too, as you can kind of insta-teleport to lockers to get hits very easily. Big problems that he has, though, is the locking lockers mechanic is quite punishing towards him. Not only do you only still need to lock one locker for a pair of lockers, because you'll always teleport to the locked locker if like the lockers that are paired together, if one of them is locked, you will always teleport to the locked one, which is really weird and shouldn't be a thing, to be honest. It only takes a mere fraction of a second, and it takes you a couple of seconds to leave a locked locker. And going around destroying all of the locks off of lockers is just something you don't have time for, and something you're not really going to be doing in your games. His add-ons are pretty decent. But overall, you know, I think he's solid, but if anything, the locking lockers mechanic can be very punishing towards him, and he can sometimes struggle again. I feel like I'm a broken record at this point. He can struggle to sometimes build up a lot of pressure on the survivors, and be able to keep survivors injured enough for long enough to actually, you know, build a snowball. Next we have Wesker. Wesker is very good. Wesker is very solid. Where am I going to put him though? I'm going to put him right there. Wesker, great. He's got mobility. He's got anti-loop. He's got a tiny bit of time waste with the fact that people have to go and, you know, first aid to actually deal with your infection. He's got a jank-ass 40-meter terror radius, which sometimes works out for him, depending on the perks you're running. He's got good add-ons. Wesker's good. He's good. He's good. Fun time for everybody. I got no complaints about Wesker, to be honest. He's a very, very solid killer with a lot going for him. To be honest, I got nothing to say about my man Albert. And lastly here, we got the Knight. The Knight. Where do I want to put the Knight? I think the Knight is average. I'm going to throw him down here. Right there. Here's what I think about the Knight. And I was thinking about this recently. I think people hate the Knight a lot right now. Right? Mostly because the Knight is kind of a byproduct of the meta currently. Meta is very boring right now for killer. I'm not going to deny that. If you actually are playing the meta, that is, you know, they go and kick generators and not commit to chase at anyone. He is extremely good at holding down a motherfucking 3-gen and, you know, holding down zone control type shit. But outside of that, the Knight struggles in certain aspects of the game. When it comes to looping, a lot of his power can just be countered by simply holding W. I know it's extremely boring, but I've played him. It's impeccable, really. The ability that holding W has on this man's power. And he has to effectively, if you just run away and he puts down a guard and you just run away from it and it doesn't actually track you, he's out of a power for at least a decent bit of period, especially depending on what guard it is. If it's the butcher's knife guy, the Carnifex, I think his name is, he's out of a power for quite a while actually. But otherwise, he's got decent tracking ability. He's got some info under his belt. He can gather info at the very least, and he can kind of stall the game a little bit on the guys that he can give survivors something to do by having people, sending his guys to go chase a survivor or something. But like I said, he's very good at, utilizing the gen kick 3-gen meta. But I think when we go into maybe a different killer meta, perhaps something more chase oriented and something more aggressive, hopefully, I think he won't nearly be as hated, and I think he won't nearly be as good. I mean, I think he'll still stick around here, but I think he's currently maybe a little bit better than that, just because of the fact that he utilizes the meta so well. But otherwise, I think he's perfectly average. I really do wish there was more of an incentive to use his stuff for scouting than there was, than using it to like lock down areas and whatnot, and use it for like anti-loop and shit like that. But that's the Knight we have, unfortunately. Not it's the Knight I want, and we don't have. We got this Knight. We got this Knight that's not nearly as fun. Not the Knight I want him to be. And for some reason, this tier list has the new killer on here. I don't know why. They're just raring to go with it. But she can live down here. This is not like an actual ranking. I'm not ranking. I haven't even played her. I'm excited for her. That's a hot take. I know. Don't kill me, okay? Please. It's 2 in the morning. Don't kill me over this. But I'm one of those weirdos that's kind of excited for her. She seems kind of cool. But I don't actually know how strong or good she is, because I haven't played the PTB, and I don't plan to. But otherwise, look at this. Look at this tier list. Check it out. This is my tier list of killers. We'll revisit this at the end of the year. And maybe some placements will move around. And hell, maybe I'll look at this in the morning and think, what the fuck was I doing ranking that person there? Because it is 2 in the morning, man, and I am, I'm tired. And I was kind of not feeling the greatest today in terms of being a little sick. So I've got that going too. But I wanted to record a video and I wanted to talk about something. So there you go. Killer tier list. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll catch you all in the next one. See you later.